Hello, hello everybody. Sheep with the Cards here. I'm really excited about this next deck. I want to say first of all, for those of you that watched the watching the Gwen After Dark show, I really appreciate it. We had some a little bit of trials and ordeals, and Ruben will be back next week. And going forward, I hope that nothing else terrible happens. A lot of issues, but thank you for watching. So this video is going to be about a Northern Realms deck that's quite a lot of fun to play. I've been testing it now for about 3 days in the lab, so to speak, and it's working really well. It's a lot of fun. There are some distinct drawbacks to it, which I'll cover at the end. But overall, it's a really solid deck, really fun. It's an offensive deck, which is not really in my wheelhouse, but something that I can do. I don't particularly like them because I always feel like they lack a little bit of control. So the um, the negative comments are going to feel from probably a control player kind of thing. But if you're looking, I want to try to do a different deck, right? So if you're looking for a fun deck, has a lot of offensive capabilities and really just a lot of fun to play, utilizing all the new cards, this is a really fun one. So let's take a look at it. It's up on GwentDB.com. Once more with feeling. I'll explain that in a second. It's a really good deck. It's pretty strong, and so let's go into the basics of it. First of all, we'll start with the leader Foltest, his ability to replicate a bronze card in the field of play. And that is kind of the first step, and it lets you know where this deck is going. It's basically a replication and synergized with using their abilities over and over again. One of the great things that came up on my talk show last night was that they have gotten away from big buffs with Commander's Horns, where you could just buff everything and there's not a lot of buffing, which I disagreed with, and I wanted to go into this video specifically to counter that. This deck is all about buffs, and it's very powerful. It's a very powerful buffing deck. So let's take a look at that. What I mean. So right there at the initial, Foltest is your leader. He can copy a card. So let's look more into it. So there's once more feeling. Scroll down, and every excuse me. Any Northern Realms deck with me starts off with a poor F infantry, right? And they're a little less than they were at the Kill of the Servers. They were, I think, 2 strength. You copy 2 cards, which gave them an overall unit strength of 6. In this case, it's still to get the 6 points out of it, but it's just 1 copy. So they're still really good. They're still 6 strength. They're still kind of the excuse me the basis of the deck. They're the infantry. They're just like they would be in any kind of war. They're the ones that get on the field, and we're going to utilize them in an effective way. So you pour infantry to get some troops on the thing is a really good opening play. So we're going to go. We have some field medics, and this is really for later. I guess instead of going card by card, this deck really is more centered around a couple of different cards. One of the main cards in this deck is a Reaver Scout. Now, Reaver Scout has changed and is absolutely phenomenal. And, I mean, he's really strong. So if you look at it, all these cards will give you a benefit when played. And what a Reaver Scout does will allow you to play that card again with feeling. So Reaver Scout brings them back. You can search for it. There's some cards that get buffed if you have multiple cards of the same type in play. Some cards that just add strength and just keep on attacking, and that's kind of where the Reaver Scout is the linchpin of this deck. You can do other things with them. You can get them in a lot of different ways. So in the new Gwent, and we had a great discussion last night on Classic Gwent versus New Gwent. In New Gwent, card draw is much more prevalent. So you get 2 at the end of the first round and 1 at the end of the second round if it goes to the third round. And there's ways in this deck of drawing cards and finding cards. So Reaver Scout becomes really important. You want to try to get him in your opening hand if possible for a lot of synergy. But what he does is he copies a unit on the field. And then a huge combo piece with him, should you get all the cards in play and you get some units on the field, is Reinforcement. And Reinforcement is ridiculous. Choose a bronze unit on your side of play and play all copies of it from the deck. So for example, let's say you had a blue stripe scout on the board, and you had a couple of poor infantry out there. I almost say the other word. What you could do, or another card that buffs. So you had a blue stripes commando, a blue stripe scout, and a poor infantry. That's the dream hand. And you played a Reaver Scout, and you copied either this one, which adds 4 strength, or you play this one, which add 2 strength to other copies, wherever they are, to himself. Or this one, Kidwani Siege Expert, add 3 strength to him. So you play the Reaver Scout, and then you copy the Reaver Scout, and in that one play, you're getting 2 more Reaver Scouts. They're then copying 2 more cards, which are then buffing 2 more cards. So reinforcing your Reaver Scout is probably one of the strongest plays in Northern Realms. It's ridiculous, and it just, in that one turn, you can just buff up all your troops to just a lot. I guess to say the best way to say it. You get a lot out of it. So you have the poor infantry, you have the field medics, and that's so that you can come back in and play them again, play more cards, because all these cards pump up, so you're giving them a second chance to pump up again. So field medics, bring them back. These blue stripe commandos are really fun. When you play one, it's 5. The other 2, wherever they are in the deck, becomes 7. You play the other one, it becomes a 9. So they actually add 21 points of damage when you get all 3 out. And it's very simple to do with this deck with Reaver Scouts, a couple other things we'll talk about later. So blue stripes commandos, and then keep in mind again, with a blue stripe commando, you play 5, 7, 9. If you use full test ability, add another one, it gets 11, or at least a 9, whichever one. I'm not sure how that would go, but it's still a lot of points. John Nalis, really good card. Choose 3 non-gold units and add 3 strength to them. So you're just adding points to your board. You're getting units on the board, you're copying them, you're adding strength to them, you're reinforcing them, and away you go. It's just basically just it's a straight numbers game. There's really no frills to it, which can get more points than you. There's the Reaver Scout, the linchpin. Blue Stripe Scout, choose a non-gold unit and add 4 strength to it. Reaver Scout, pull it back, add 4 strength to another one, and so on we go. Shani, choose a non-gold unit and play it and convert it to gold. So he brings another card back from the graveyard, convert it to gold. You're not really going so much with the hero. When I first built this deck, I was looking at it kind of like a hero promotion deck, but I changed it just to go straight numbers. It's just going to go. We're going to play cards and we're going to go after it. We're going to go for points. Zoltan Animal Tamer, he gives +2 to everybody as one of his parrots. So he's like a buff that buffs the side, or in a pinch you can throw him to the other side as a defensive measure. But generally you want to buff yourself. Kidwani Siege Support, choose 2 non-gold units and add 3 strength to them. So again, there's cards that add strength, and it's really simple. You're just adding strength and going. And you're thinking to yourself, well, you can just be weathered down. Well, that's why you have a couple of clear skies in there. So the only thing that can really stop you so much is weather, but you have some support in there. And you got to be very judicious in how you play it and be smart in how you make sure you don't get caught by that. These guys are really good. Whenever 3 or more copies on the row, add 2 strength and convert them to gold. Very easy to do with Reaver Scouts. Literally, I've had a play where I had a Redanian Elite, use full test ability the next turn, then Reaver Scouted the next one the next turn. And they became 18 strength gold units. So these are really important and really easy to get. Priscilla, I love Priscilla. Priscilla has changed so much from just being basically a copy of Dandelion. Now she's her own lady. And let me tell you something. Nothing she can pull is bad, with the exception of maybe a clear sky if there's no weather on the board. Play 2 random cards from your deck, and every time they are good. But you have to make sure you don't play her first, obviously. You have to make sure you have things on the board and things in the graveyard before you play her, so you can get the benefits of whatever she pulls. Because everything she's going to pull is going to help you. And so she is like so central to this deck and works with everything. So if you have a poor infantry on the board and you pull a Kidwani Siege Expert, all of a sudden now both of them have +3, and you go from 6 to 12. And the next one she pulls, honestly, I've played this deck 20 times, and I want to say, no exaggeration, at least 10 times I've pulled a decoy, which allows me to pull her back to my hand, so I can use her again. She's just phenomenal. I mean, the things she can do is great. Neneki, down to one of my favorite characters from the books. Choose a non-gold unit from your graveyard and play it. A non-gold unit. You can pull Priscilla. So, really strong. And that gives you the card draw to get your troops buffed and so on and so forth. Really strong. Johnny. Johnny is really good, surprisingly. Choose a card from your hand and turn it to your deck. You can choose I mean, if you don't have anything in your graveyard yet, you can throw Shawnee back and get a copy of any of your gold cards or any of theirs, and you can like I've usually picked theirs to synergize with my guys. Like I play a lot of monster decks, and I take their characters, and it really works really well. Johnny's really strong. He's really strong. It gives you a little bit of punch and an unexpected twist when you need it, and plus he's 6 strength and siege, which is really good. So Johnny's a really fun addition to the deck. 2 clear skies, because the only thing that can really hurt you besides Scorch or Epidemics, which I don't think you see as many Scorches. So Epidemics maybe, but you're going to be kind of high, so I don't think it'll be that big a deal. But it's weather, so weather's an issue. But I've specifically tested this deck against a monster weather deck, and it's done really, really, really well. There is no defense; like you're just going straight numbers. So you can be outdone, but if you play it right and you get the right additions, you can overwhelm anybody. Decoy is really good if they play. So you can decoy some of your people back and add more strength to them. You really want to decoy a Reaver Scout if possible, because then you get the double benefits of a Reaver Scout, and it works really well. Excuse me. Last Wish, I really like Last Wish, because you draw 2 cards and you discard 2 cards, and you can be very smart on what you discard to use one of your priestesses. Field medics, Neniki. You can use them to get it back into your hand. So Last Wish becomes really good with those 3 cards in your hand, so you can go ahead and draw 2, throw 2 cards away that you can use from your graveyard later time if you have one of those characters in your hand. I found that I play this one a lot, and I draw cards because you're searching through so much with Field Medic. With Reaver Scout, your deck dwindles down, and you really are left with the ooey goodness later on. So when you use Last Wish, you have just nothing but good cards to draw, or nothing that benefits you. The only thing that can stop you is weather, and that's where you have to have a clear skies and use it judiciously to win the round you need to win it at. It pumps up and multiplies on itself quite fast. I recommend you try it out for yourself. I think you'll really like it. It's a different deck than I normally build. It's not very defensive. There's really no countermeasures. When I first had it, I had some countermeasures involved, like Stalford's Tremors and Manticore Venom and Alzur's Thunder. But I just found that what would happen is it took away from my getting the offensive cards I needed to add. And then when I went with the heroic build of it, it turns out at that point I didn't really need it, because they didn't have an answer for the big cards anyway. Making them gold really didn't do anything except for add a little layer of protection. But usually what happens is when you build such a big force, they just quit anyway. So you also want to make sure you don't go all in too fast. You want to save it and then strategically hit the notes you need to hit. But you usually will win this in 2 rounds. It doesn't go to the 3rd round, because the first round you kind of get some forces. They usually will draw, and then the second round you should have much more offense until they can't handle it. So I really like this deck. Once more with feeling, because you're constantly bringing cards or copies of cards back. I really hope you like it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank everybody in Gwent Discord for being awesome supporters of this stream. And so, Shifu with the cards, signing out. I hope you liked it. And please, next Gwent After Dark will probably not be as much of a dumpster fire at the beginning as it was this time. So please tune in. We're going to have some cool special guests this time, I hope. And thank y'all for watching, man. Y'all have a good day. All right. This is the part where I never know if it's still being recorded. And I got made fun of last time, but I think it's done. So, have a good one.